Hi, I'm Greg Schaefer, and welcome to the virtual CISO moment. I'm here with Don Baham. He's very active in the information security community and the online community. You may have seen some of his videos and his commentary on LinkedIn. Don, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's great to be here, Greg. Thank you for having me.
So, I'd like to hear a little bit about your past, how you got into InfoSec, some of the things that you're doing now, some of the also some of the activities that you're involved in.
Sure. I'll take you way back, and then I'll try to fast forward because we don't have time for all the twists and turns. But
Oh, we could do a two-parter if you want.
originally, so my dad actually is a programmer, and that's what I thought the computer industry was all about. And I had honestly no interest in that. I saw what he did on a daily basis, and that just seemed really boring to me. So I shied away from technology and computers and anything that was related to that. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But in any case, I ended up, I think I was working as a sales guy at a computer store and kind of fell into the technology route. I started doing software training and crawling under desks and fixing computers. And that kind of goes obviously way back, but I started on the infrastructure side. So realized there was this whole world of technology that was not sitting in front of a computer all day programming, and you could do a lot of different things. And so I found that interest and started on the engineering administration side, server administration, network administration. Finally, made my way into the InfoSec side as I was working for a managed service provider, managed security provider, and we also did risk and compliance work and started on the pen testing side. And that was a lot of fun. Did social engineering, physical social engineering, breaking into banks and getting places where it wasn't supposed to be, getting
not actually breaking into.
Well, I had the
authorization
to
do
so.
Right.
Yes. So good call out. Had the get out of jail free card, knew who to call if I got caught. But yeah, social engineering was fun. It still is fun. I don't do a lot of it actively now, but managing teams that do that. So that's how I got my start. That was about 12 years ago, I think. I moved into the InfoSec side of the world. And now today, fast forward, and I'm senior director at Acume Partners. And what does that mean? So I help lead a technology risk audit and cybersecurity group. And so we work with financial institutions, healthcare organizations, and we help organizations manage IT risk, compliance, and security programs.
Awesome. I come from I have several backgrounds, and one of them is in banking. And when you were talking about the get out of jail free card, that reminded me of a story that probably about what not to do when you're doing social engineering at a bank. And this is kind of a visual thing, so I'm going to try to actually do it, but really won't be able to get the full effect without standing up, and I'm not going to do that. But basically, had engaged a social engineering pen tester to try to get into physical areas within the bank, and was called on it, was challenged. And he had a get out of jail free letter, and he had it in his back pocket. And so when he was challenged, he's like, well, okay, I have to admit, I'm not here to check your bank. And he reaches into his back pocket, and right then and there, exactly, eyes got big and everything. And people started to freak out. And of course, he produced the letter, but that was some of the feedback we had to that firm back then. It's just like, that's probably not the right thing to do in a bank there. So
yeah, be very careful about where you're putting your hands and what actions you're taking. Absolutely. Yeah, it's I don't have a story quite like that, but certainly it's gets the heart racing. There's some exciting times when you're doing that kind of work.
Yeah, most definitely. So you're currently, I know this because I'm part of the Nashville ISSAA,
Yes.
Information Systems Security Association chapter, and I know that you've been heavily involved in that for many years. You're vice president now?
Yeah, vice president on the ISSA board. I think I've been on the board now going on 3+ years. Actively involved in the community in other areas. ISACA board. I was previously on the InfraGuard board. But yeah, ISSA We're actually gearing up for our InfoSec conference, our annual conference that's happening in September, I think September 9th. So save the date. Planning committees meeting pretty regularly now. We're getting our sponsor packet together, and we'll be putting out the call for speakers here very soon. And this year, actually, I'll mention it now, but we're doing something new. We're putting together a CISO advisory committee to help with the organization of not only the content, speaker selection, and just to get some additional awareness out to some of the security teams in the Middle Tennessee market. So I'm excited about what's coming up for that.
Well, we appreciate obviously all of your hard work that you do in there. And information security can be a very stressful endeavor, profession to go in. That's not to say it's not without rewards. It obviously has a lot of rewards with it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking here doing this right now. But with everything that you do, both professionally as far as career and also these other endeavors, what is your why? What is your driver behind it at this point?
It's a great question, Greg. I think you have to have that why. Otherwise, it's not worth getting up and doing every day. Like you said, there's some pressures that come with this kind of work. And if you don't have a solid understanding of why you're doing that, it certainly can burn people out and just, not be healthy. So for me, I honestly do love helping businesses, regardless if that's my own business or other client businesses. I really love helping enable their business with security and technology. And that may sound cliche, but I think looking at security, especially as a business enabler, is exciting. So I want to help businesses grow and go after their missions, right? So especially for example, I've got one client right now that is in the healthcare, and it's a specific type of healthcare client and a very specific type of mission that they're driven after. I get to be a part of helping that business grow using security. So I can help them grow in a way that mitigates as much risk as possible and lets them go focus on that mission, which is a really cool mission to be a part of. So I love doing that and helping be an enabler for other businesses out there.
Yeah, I love one of the things that you said during that was about serving businesses, really. I will often say that if you have the heart of a servant, you're always going to be successful. And I would tend to agree that that's part of the reason, a main driver for me as well too. And as we were talking about before we started the podcast, that this is one of the reasons why I'm actually doing this, to just help with small and mid-sized businesses, because they've got a lot of threats out there and they don't necessarily have the resources or the knowledge or the experience to be able to counter them. And I know that you've worked with a lot of small, mid-sized businesses in exactly that spot. So we're sitting here now, it's 2022 in the United States. It's, well, traditionally tax day, although it's extended till Monday because of the holiday weekend. But what do you see as a significant threat today, one of the most significant threats today to small and mid-sized businesses? And maybe it's associated with some geopolitical event like the Russia-Ukraine war, or maybe it has to do with something completely different. But I'm curious to get your take on that.
Boy, I would say that one of the biggest risks that I see today may not be immediately obvious to the small business owner, is the lack of cybersecurity talent and how that's going to affect all industries, all businesses in the United States and worldwide. And that's also one of the reasons I think that the business we're in, Greg, is thriving, because there is such a lack of talent out there and a pipeline to bring people into this line of work. So while it, again, we're not talking necessarily about the latest ransomware, the latest geopolitical issues that are going on, but the lack of talent right now, if you go to cyberseek.org, there's 600,000 cybersecurity openings in the US right now. And so
Wow.
there's the need, right? And they're working in small businesses or larger enterprises, or both. But that we don't have the talent to fill that need. So what happens? What does that mean as it affects our businesses, small businesses as well? Is that there are security gaps that are not being addressed, right? There are businesses that are running without the right expertise to make sure that they stay secure as they continue to grow. So I see that as a huge risk, even though it may not be immediately something that a small business owner would see as a risk to their business.
That's an interesting take, and I'm curious about what you think that maybe what the root cause of that is, because information security, cybersecurity, arguably is a growing field. It is a well-paying field mostly. It is stressful, like we talked about beforehand, but I think that just about any position you could say has its certain, any field has its certain level of stress associated with it. So I would submit that probably cybersecurity is a pretty attractive destination for someone who's like thinking about their career in high school and college. Well, what do I want to do? And
Yeah.
yet we have this huge gap in cyber talent and cyber needs. What do you think the root cause is for that? Can we do a better job of maybe promoting it amongst those the next generation, if you will, to old people like you and me?
100%. Yeah, it's I think one of the issues is awareness, right? So even bringing that awareness down to the high school level, middle school level. And one of the initiatives we're working on with the ISSAA board is how can we start integrating with organizations like Junior Achievement, right? What are the things that we can bring down even to that level in the school system where we can bring awareness. Or we have a university outreach program on a couple different boards that I serve on. So how can we get out to, in fact, there was just a call for a speaker at a local university. I can't remember the name, but I just saw the email yesterday out to the ISSAA board looking for speakers to go out to a university and talk to the class about the opportunities that are available in cybersecurity. So everything we can do in that, I think certainly there's an opportunity to bring awareness. I would also say that we need, as hiring managers, potentially to change the how we're looking at entry level positions or lower tiered positions, where somebody, maybe a job description typically would require a couple of years of experience in cybersecurity. Maybe we shelve that and really start to bring in folks that just have customer service experience or light IT experience and bring them into those lower level cyber positions and train them. So I think there's a few different areas of what we can tackle this with.
I think certainly on the job training, that sort of approach would be a very good option. I remember back when I first started in IT, I came up through infrastructure as well. And I was a student in college, and there was an ad for a part-time network technician, and I didn't really know anything about computer networking back then. Of course, we didn't really have much in the way of Ethernet then. It was more serial connections. But long story short, the person who hired me recognized that I was trainable, and so I've kind of taken that to through my entire career. When I look for staff now to hire for my organization, that's one of the chief things I look for. So I would agree there as well. I think another thing is we always talk about cybersecurity as a business enabler. And I think we're doing a better job of selling the fact that cybersecurity, or if you want to call it information security or what have you, I mean, there are several different terms for it, is not just about bits and bytes and numbers. There's actually that risk management portion, that strategic portion there. So do you think that maybe if we approach it also from the business aspect, not just the technical aspect, but help the younger generation those who are like in a business college understand, no, this is a viable opportunity to go for.
Yeah, it's a good point. I absolutely think so. Taking that business first approach and looking at how IT and cybersecurity governance programs fit into the overall business governance program and strategic plan. Absolutely think that is something that we could continue to explore and see if we can bring some of those smart business minds into the cyber world and indoctrinate those into, how does that fit within a strategic pillar of the business strategy as well as governance. 100% agree.
So good future for them. What about what's in Don's future? What are you trying to work towards in the next few years? I unfairly put you in the same age category as me, and you are younger than me. So I just want to make sure that, we're old guys, but I'm much older guy. So
there you go.
What's up for Don?
Hey, I still remember token ring. So
okay. Well, then maybe you just wear it well.
There you go. What's the future? Gosh, I don't know. It's been a wild ride so far, and I've enjoyed it. What do I have coming up? Well, right now, I'll just say immediately, this is a very short-term goal that I'm working on. I'm studying for the EC Council Chief Information Security Officer certification. So I'm actually sitting for that next week. So wish me luck, but it's fun.
If I can interrupt on that, I appreciate, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I appreciate that on LinkedIn, you're talking about your process and studying there and allowing those of us who are too lazy to actually go through the process vicariously live through you and actually see that. So yeah, best of luck. But
yeah, well, let me speak to that for a minute, because it's interesting. That was a fairly, I think that cert came out a couple of years ago, so it's not that old, but I've recently learned about it, and I'm like, I should check that out and see what it's all about. And I'm probably setting myself up here, but I'm fairly confident that I'm going to pass that in a short amount of time studying, just based on the content that I read and the sample questions. And that's not to, say that I'm that smart, but it is to say that anybody that's been in this industry for a while, like yourself, Greg, I think it's one of those certs that I believe kind of validates the experience versus something that you would, I don't know, you have those certs where you kind of, you go after them to push yourself and show, maybe you don't quite have the expertise, but you can pass this cert. So you want to get that position. Mm-hmm. I don't think that this is necessarily one of those certs. This seems to be more of a validation of your experience. It really talks a lot about the governance side, the business side, the strategic planning, the procurement, third-party risk management, the accounting side of things, understanding the business and really integrating with strategic planning and where cybersecurity fits into that. So to that point you were talking about on the business side, this content seems to dive into that quite a bit and validate that. So it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully I pass, and it's as I won't say easy, but as not quite as difficult as some of the more technical certifications I've taken in the past. So we'll see what happens next week. I'll let you know.
Well, definitely best of luck. Yeah, I will be following along to see how that goes. And maybe that'll be enough incentive for me to get off my what and actually think about doing another certification. I don't know. It's been a long time. The last one I did was the CISSP, and that's probably coming up on close to, no, let's just not talk about that. My number is not the smallest out there, but I've seen some of the numbers and I'm like, oh my gosh, you can actually tell how old you are based on your CISSP number in some ways. So
yeah.
So information security, it's cybersecurity. It's a great field. There's a lot of challenges associated with it. There's a lot of stress associated with it. What do you do to get away from it all?
Well, on beautiful days like today, get outside, right? I mean, we're enjoying some sun finally after this week.
We should have done this podcast outside. We should have gone down to Tito's and sat out on the deck or something like that.
That would have been a better spot. I don't know how the logistics would be for the audio on that, but
Probably not
certainly
good.
it would be better to be outside. But yeah, enjoy being outside. I've got a family, so I've got girls that are in activities. We've got a gymnast and a dancer, and so I spend a lot of time with my wife and my girls and dogs and being outside. Not a lot of time for hobbies right now. It's mainly just being present for the family, which I love doing. So at some point, maybe I'll pick up some of the hobbies I've had in the past. I love digital photography. I've got some expensive gear sitting down there on the floor next to my desk that maybe I'll be able to pick up at some point once the girls leave. But right now it's family time, man. That's what I do to decompress.
That's awesome. Well, Don, it has been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. Appreciate you coming on. So ISSA conference, InfoSec Nashville, coming up in a few months in September.
September 9th. Yep.
September 9th. And that's going to be at the Music City Center, right?
Music City Center, downtown Nashville. It's a great location and hope everybody can join us.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Don. Appreciate it. And for everybody else, stay secure. All right. And we're off.